The striking beauty of Venice attracts millions of tourists every year, unaware that they too contribute to its decline. Saving Venice has become a top priority for Italians and for the international community. But the balance between profit and protection is delicate and fraught with conflicts of interest. "20 million tourists come to Venice every year. It is one of the most romantic cities in the world. Visitors wander along its narrow streets and canals, uniquely free of cars. They let themselves get lost in this labyrinth, only to find themselves miraculously where they hoped to go. They come to get a glimpse of the mystery and a sense of the intrigue of decadent Venice."
Giacomo Casanova è il protagonista, in un certo senso, del Settecento
Giacomo
veneziano,
Casanova is the main protagonist of the Venetian 18th century, which is a century in which Carnival is celebrated for nearly 2 months, from the 26th of December to the day before Ash Wednesday. He is a libertine, a man of letters, a man who studies. He also probably has ties to the Freemasonry, and in fact, Venice uses him as a spy.
The Casanova legend has lived on through the centuries and is represented by the city's traditions of fine food, courtesans, and gambling. Fortunes were lost at the gaming table, and gambling became an obsession. Casanova's peccadillos landed him in prison. He crossed the infamous Bridge of Sighs from the Doge's palace where he had been condemned. A short time later, he managed to escape.
Dopo essere scappato da Palazzo Ducale,
After fleeing the Doge's palace, Casanova reaches Paris, and he remains in Paris for some time before returning to Venice. So we have this romantic idea, this legendary, idealized view of him, because all that we know about Casanova, we know from his own writing.
da Casanova lo apprendiamo dai suoi scritti.
Casanova's adventures are closely interwoven with the traditional Carnival festivities. Tourists flock to Venice every February to celebrate the ancient and decadent Carnival rite, donning elaborate costumes and soaking up the splendor of the city of water and its reflections. The magic of Venice has inspired some of the most famous composers, artists, and writers. Mozart, Thomas Mann, Ernest Hemingway all came here. Harry's Bar, the Cipriani Hotel, and the Casino are synonymous with romance, celebrity guests, and the Belle Époque. Tourists come all the year round, even when adverse winds and high tides combine to flood the city's streets. The phenomenon of the so-called acqua alta occurs when a strong southeasterly wind combines with a high lunar tide, a long wave in the lagoon, and low pressure over the Adriatic Sea. These weather conditions push the sea through the 3 lagoon inlets directly towards Venice, along the deep canals. This happens regularly, and more frequently since the disastrous 1966 flood.
While
for the tourist this is quite fun, for those who work in the city, in this case the gondoliers, it creates problems. For example, we can't get under the bridges, and we're all blocked, and we can't go about our work, taking our guests around the city.
non si può girare, portare l'ospite in giro per la città.
The Venetian lagoon is subject to tides, like the rest of the coastline. The marshland has always acted as a natural water break for the rising sea. The tides are vital for the health of the lagoon, but devastating for the city when they cause flooding. Sewage still empties directly into Venice's canals, so the tidal exchange is crucial for the health of the lagoon and its residents.
The task of cleaning the lagoon is given to the sea, to the tides. The tide comes in twice a day and goes out twice a day. Clean water comes in, picks up the waste and takes it out to sea.
The force of the tide is such that every 6 hours it pulls the water out, and every 6 hours it brings it back in. The force of the tides is so strong that it is able to take the city's waste out to sea. The inlets along the spits of sandy beach that separate the open sea from the lagoon were reinforced and became the official entrances to the lagoon. The Chioggia entrance is the southernmost, while the Malamocco inlet is in the middle, and today this is where oil tankers and cargo ships enter the lagoon to reach Porto Marghera and Mestre. The other entrance is at Lido Island, where celebrities flock from all over the world to be feted in the annual September Film Festival. They stay in these luxurious hotels, visit the colourful outlying island of Burano, and enjoy these beaches that form the sea barrier to the lagoon and require constant upkeep. The Lido Lagoon entrance is also the opening through which mega cruise liners reach the ancient city. It is these deep channels that are speeding up the tides and pushing seawater into the heart of the city itself. In 1966, just 50 years ago, in some places, the sea level reached 2 meters higher than average. The question of saving Venice from sinking and the rising sea levels became a national and international priority, and a plan for a massive protection system was set in motion. The project for a surge barrier to block high tides was born and given the name of MOSE, which stands for Experimental Electromechanical Module. It involves positioning dozens of floating barriers on the seafloor to be raised every time an exceptional tide is expected. Hermes Redi is the Director General of the construction consortium that has been entrusted with saving Venice.
Siccome l'andamento della marea è un andamento sinusoidale, perciò va su e scende, va su.
Since the tides follow a sinusoidal curve, so goes up and down, while pressure follows a rising line, if we sum these two curves, we can forecast what the level is likely to be, and on top of this we can add the effect the wind will be having. So the sum of these three factors show us, through our curves, what kind of tide to expect. We can have normal tides, relatively high tides, and very high tides.
Potremmo avere una marea normale, sostenuta, alta, altissima.
The MOSE project is managed by a private consortium called Consorzio Venezia Nuova, based in the regenerated arsenal of Venice, and has been dogged by administrative and legal obstacles and by the biggest corruption scandal the city of Venice has ever seen. The organization's remit has changed over the years.
Il progetto, quando è stato ideato 30 anni fa, era un progetto di carattere.
When the project was begun 30 years ago, it had a heavy engineering bias, so the answers to the problems were very hard, while over time, interaction with environmentalists and also the improvement of technologies has led to the creation of a mixed response. So within our project today, the two aspects are represented, both the engineering and the environmentalist aspects.
Le due anime, sia quella ingegneristica ma anche quella ambientalista.
The housings for the mobile barrier are laid in 4 rows across the lagoon entrances, with the Lido entrance divided in 2 by an artificial island.